Vivrai con me in un'isola fantastica.
Oh, excuse me.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for our weekly film show. France 24's film critic Lisa Nesselson joins us now. Hello, Lisa. Now, moviegoers are counting on cinemas reopening next week. What will be showing if and when they do?
It's getting hard to do things around the house, with my fingers crossed that movie theaters nationwide will indeed reopen on December 15th after being closed for 47 days and 47 nights. That's a week longer than Noah had to put up with really bad weather, tooling around in his Ark without a DVD player. Most French movie theaters put a giant bookmark in their lobbies in late October and will pick up where they left off. Films that had only been out for 2 days when the second lockdown was decreed will be available again.
Now, in the meantime, France has decided which film to submit to the Oscars in the international film category, formerly known as foreign language. Their choice came out in February. Tell us more.
I couldn't be happier with the fact that Deux, or Two of Us, a just about perfect love story about two women, directed and co-written by a man, is France's entry. Whether it'll figure in the final nominations out of what currently stands at submissions from about 90 countries remains to be seen. But the excellent news is that it's due to be re-released in French theaters when they reopen to take advantage of the attention.
And it's a love story between two older ladies.
It's the touching, suspenseful story of two women in their late 60s, early 70s, whose long-term romance has remained secret. Of course, we're let in on it from the opening frames when a subtle scene makes it clear that although they're senior citizens, Mado and Nina are still having a grand old time in the sack. They live across the landing from each other in two separate top-floor apartments. Mado is supposed to sell her apartment so they can fulfill their dream of retiring together to Rome. But somehow, Mado has never gotten around to telling her two growing children that she's not the celibate widow she appears to be.
OK, well, let's take a look at Two of Us.
Mais c'est mon fils, c'est Frédéric. Ne me prends pas pour une conne. Mais si j'ai essayé de lui dire... Et... Combien de fois tu m'as sorti cette excuse? Combien de fois tu m'as sorti cette excuse? Je te dis que j'ai essayé de... Arrête, arrête! Nina. Nina. Monsieur Brémond, ça vous pose un problème, les vieilles gouines?
Pardon?
Les gouines, les gougnottes. Les lesbiennes, ça vous pose un problème?
Enfin, non.
Tu vois, Mado? Tu vois, Mado? Tout le monde s'en fout.
So does Mado work up the courage to tell her family that she's madly in love with the lady across the way?
Not exactly. Before Mado can do that, she experiences a health crisis, and suddenly the secret is a heart-rending liability. The actresses, Martine Chevalier of the Comédie Française and German veteran Barbara Sukova, could not be better. Young love can be fun on screen, but these two, with their age-appropriate bodies and lined faces, make older, lived-in love seem bottomlessly alluring. It's been a truncated year, but this is my favorite French film of 2020.
And movie lovers have a celebration coming up later this month. Tell us why we should mark the 28th of December on our calendars.
On December 28th, 1895, the Salon Indien of the Grand Café, not far from the Paris Opera, held the first ever projection of motion pictures for a paying audience. So we can say that 125 years ago, the movies were born. It was a program comprised of hand-cranked black and white films, each 52 seconds long, made by the Lumiere brothers of Lyon. On February 13th, 1895, Auguste and Louis Lumiere patented the cinematograph. 125 years later, we still speak of cinema and cinematography. A handsome wooden box that weighed 11 pounds, about 11 pounds, their ingenious invention functioned as both a camera and a projector. The Lumieres dispatched cameramen all over the world to film street scenes, ordinary life, and historic gatherings. Being able to see far-flung locations from a stationary theater seat was a phenomenal innovation. But the revolutionary aspect was this. Thanks to the motion in motion pictures, it would now be possible to see everybody from famous figures to family members brought back to life long after they died. This was a completely new concept that we now take for granted.
And is it true that audiences were so terrified at that first showing of a train coming into the station that they ran out of the room?
Well, there is reason to believe that some audience members were frightened by that film, whose angle was precisely right to give the impression that the locomotive was going to burst through the screen into the room and mow them down. But train coming into a station wasn't projected for audiences until later, I think 1897. Workers Leaving the Factory is the film. Men and women streaming out of the Lumiere factory in Lyon. The remaining piece of that structure is the Lumiere Institute's movie theater today. Jean-Luc Godard, who turned 90 on December 3rd, pointed out that the brothers could have had the last name Abat-Jour, which translates as lampshade. But instead, their father's last name was, conveniently, cosmically, the term that means light. Photography and moving pictures entail writing with light. It is dazzling to note some of the other things that are still with us that were invented, discovered, or patented in 1895. The scientific discipline of ecology began. The greenhouse effect was established, and X-rays were discovered. The first patent was granted for an electric bicycle, and H.G. Wells published The Time Machine. The movies are the best time machine I know.
Such delightful images. Now, Lisa, you're going to suggest some stocking fillers for us film buffs, starting with this one called Forbidden Hollywood.
Well, I mentioned the Lumiere Institute in Lyon. It was their idea to liberate 10 films from the Warner Brothers vaults from the jaw-dropping early 1930s, before the puritanical Hays Code put an abrupt end to shapely women in clinging dresses with nothing underneath, premarital sex, both desired and undesired, unpunished larceny, and lots of other lurid, immoral, fun-to-watch stuff socked across by sexy actresses aware of their own erotic assurance.
Hold your freight out of here.
What's the matter? You getting particular?
Maybe I am. Did you ever take a good look at yourself?
Yeah, you're exclusive, you are. The sweetheart of the night shift. Come on, you're wasting my time. Everybody knows about you.
Yeah? Well, you ain't going to...
Now, those 10 films under the heading Forbidden Hollywood were one of the certified hits of this summer, once theaters reopened after the first lockdown. Many people kept going back to see all 10. We tend to think that we're more modern and savvy than people were 90 years ago, but the situations in these movies and the way the characters handle them are plenty sophisticated. 50 euros will buy you a lot of once forbidden entertainment featuring the distinctive talents of Barbara Stanwyck, Joan Blondell, Jean Harlow, and even a young, rather dreamy John Wayne.
And a little bit more expensive now. If I have 299 euros burning a hole in my pocket, there's a pretty exciting present for Clint Eastwood fans, and I've got part of it here.
You can own every single film, directed by or featuring Clint Eastwood from 1958 through last year, assembled on 63 DVDs and Blu-ray discs in a breathtakingly classy limited edition numbered box set with tantalizing bonus material galore, because there's still a healthy market in France for restored films, both in theaters and on DVD Blu-ray. The French keep designing eye-popping DVD editions. Clint Eastwood is 90 years old, and he's making a movie right now. He's not the most versatile actor who ever lived, but he's terrific within his range, and there are several classics and very few duds in his long filmography as a director. If you think he's just a tall gunslinger or a political conservative, he's so much more than that. He's an important film artist.
I can definitely see some DVDs in your background there, Lisa. Out in France is a remastered DVD edition of The Man Who Would Be King, starring Michael Caine and the late Sean Connery. Tell us more.
If you've never seen John Huston's sweeping epic, you're in for a treat. It's said that this was Connery's favorite film of all those he made, and I don't know if that's because it's such a great story, splendidly told, or because he just had a good time making it. It's based on an 1888 story by Rudyard Kipling, in which two British adventurers go to a now-vanished country in a portion of Afghanistan with a scheme to pass themselves off as, well, kings, but accidentally get mistaken for gods. Christopher Plummer plays Kipling, who is the narrator. This is a terrific blend of adventure and pageantry and the dark corners of human nature.
Okay, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. Some good Christmas present ideas there. We're going to leave you with a glimpse of 1975's The Man Who Would Be King. Remember our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
Sikandar belonged to Sikandar, now son of Sikandars. These here make the jewels in the Tower of London look like cheap family heirlooms.